Okay, hi Dave. Here's a radio I found for you. Got set up, and it's a Uniden 40 channel AM. Pretty basic operation. I'll show you a little closer up how it works, but that's the radio, and I've got it hooked up temporarily to a dipole type antenna that I made for you for emergency use. You might want to use some other type of antenna most of the time, but you can make this one work all the time if you have a place for it. And I just have 12 volts hooked up here. Right now I've got it hooked to this portable power station, like one of those portable stations you can use to jump your car battery or something, whatever. And this has an internal 12 volt battery. I've got a cigarette lighter jack on here, and I wired up to the cable. If you want to wire this to a battery directly or to a power supply or something, you can just cut this cable right here and save the jack for later use or something. Just wire the red and the black. The red's positive, of course, and black negative. And it does have to be 12 volts or close to that. Hi Dave. Well, I think I found a radio for you here. Got it fixed up, and we'll send it on out to you. And I'll show you a little close-up here view. Tell you a little bit more about the radio. Well, here's the radio. It's a Uniden Pro 510 XL, and they're a very common radio. Has a very good receiver in it. It's really hot, so it picks up signals well. It's got a compact microphone here, and got the bracket that I found for it. And basically the controls, what it is, just your on-off volume, turn it on, and your squelch, when it's backed all the way counterclockwise, you'll hear the noise, which will give you the fullest range you can hear farthest out. But usually you want to just set that just above the noise level so that the noise disappears, the background noise. And the squelch, if you set it more clockwise, it's going to limit your range, your reception range a little bit more, so you'll only hear real close stations if you have this squelch all the way clockwise. So most of the time, just keep it just above the noise. And then your channel selector, it's got 40 channels, and it's AM only, like I say, no single sideband. So channel 6 is pretty common if you hear, if you want to listen to some guys talk far away. Sometimes when Skip is rolling in on CB, you can hear a lot of activity on channel 6, and those guys are interesting to listen to. You might want to listen to channel 19 for local use and truckers out there and stuff like that. The switch here is an automatic noise limiter. Usually I leave that on, ANL, automatic noise limiter. You can hear the background noise. Now when I turn that on, it cuts out a lot more noise, electrical noise and engine noise, that type of stuff. So that's basically all there is to it. On the back, just have your power wires, the red and black, coming in, 12 volts. There is an external speaker jack if you want to plug in an external speaker. That always sounds much better if you have an external speaker. I like to use those. And then your antenna jack. That's all there is to the back. Also, Dave, there's an S meter here, just some LED lights, so when you receive a signal, the stronger they are, the more lights that go on. There is also a LED indicator when you key the mic up, when you press the mic button to talk, and it'll light up all the way across here when you're transmitting, you know, if you want to talk to somebody. You don't want to transmit without an antenna hooked up, because that can damage the radio. It's okay to have the radio on without an antenna, but you don't want to transmit at all. So keep that in mind. You always want to have an antenna that's properly matched to the CB band before you transmit. Now for power, there's a fuse holder in here, so if you happen to hook it up backwards, it should blow the fuse, but it can damage the radio. So you always want to be sure that you hook your red to positive and your black to negative, of course, on 12 volts, or it could damage the radio. Now what I use, or what I'm using right now to test this radio here for portable use, is this portable power station, and it's just a 12 volt kind of like one of those emergency things you can carry in your car to jump start your car or whatever. It's got a 12-volt battery, and it does have a socket for the cigarette lighter jack here, plug. Now that's what I'm using here right now, but you can hook this up to any 12-volt source, car battery. If you want to do that, like I say, just you can cut these wires here and just hook the red and black to the battery, save the lighter plug for later or something. And you can also hook it to a 12-volt power supply. They're available all over. You don't need a high current one. A 2 or 3 amp 12-volt power supply should be plenty for this little radio. You don't want to use a wall wart, those plastic black wall wart type power supplies, because they're not really suitable for this kind of use. But some kind of 12-volt battery or a power supply. Some power supplies also come with this jack built into them, so you could use this if you found one of those, but otherwise just hook the red and black up. So that's what you need for power, I guess. Okay, Dave, here's the emergency antenna or portable antenna that I made up for you. It's called a dipole antenna. We use it on ham radio a lot, but this is cut specifically for the CB band at that frequency range. So there's about just under 9 feet of wire on each side of this center connector. And what it is, I've got about 30 feet of lead-in cable for you, so it gives you a little room to play with. And this connects to the CB, the back of the CB, and you can unroll this or lay it wherever. And this here, I labeled the positive end of the wire with some red tape, because this side especially is connected to the center pin, the center lead of the cable here. And that's your main antenna. That acts as your main antenna, and you want to always have that as much in the clear as you can, and vertical is best for CB. A lot of times on ham we hang these from tree horizontally, and that works fine on the ham, but for CB, for local CB use anyhow, vertical is the way you want it for the best reception. So you can have this tie it up someplace outside the house, or have it dangle from a tree limb or something. And the other half, it also works good if you can get the whole thing up clear in the air. Have it vertical, you want the cable to come off sideways from it so the cable don't interfere with the antenna itself. But if you have to, this other side, this ground side, can just lay on the ground, and that will work fine. If you extend this up from the ground, this will act as a ground radio. So, but if you can, it'll work even better if you can extend the whole thing and have it vertical in the air. And as a last resort, you can put it horizontal, but you're going to lose some reception. And I put a little hook up here so you can hang it up if you want. You could extend the wire up on the side of a pole, as long as it ain't metallic or something. You want to keep the wire away from any other metal objects as far as you can, at least a few feet. And also keep it away from sources of noise such as power lines, wiring in your house. And you can also use this in the house. You can try it that way if you want to try it, as long as you don't have steel siding. If you have steel siding on your house, it's going to cut back your reception quite a bit being inside. But otherwise, if you don't, you can extend this up in your house someplace in the corner of a room or something, up alongside the wall. Try to keep it away from metal as much as possible. And the other wire, you can kind of make an L shape out of this, let this lay along the floor in a corner or something, and you could try that. That's some ideas. I can give you some more ideas later, but that's the basic emergency antenna here. You might want to use a different antenna most of the time, but this will serve as an emergency antenna or something you can play around with for a while, and maybe even make permanent if you got a good spot for it. Hey Dave, this is one example of the dipole antenna that you can one thing you might want to do, I guess, the center of it is laying there on the ground, and the red side with the red marks, that's the hot side of the dipole, that runs up, and I just tied it off to something here on the side of the house. Let's just tie it up. It's vertical in the air so that the whole length of it is above the ground, not laying on the ground. But it works fine with the other side of it laying on the ground. That's the ground side of it, of the wire. You can see, just have that laying on the ground, and that works fine that way too. And I just have the cable run into the CB just inside there. But and of course this would just be temporary. You'd want to weatherproof it a little better if you're going to make it permanent, you know, not just have it laying on the ground like that. But I'm just showing you an idea of how it would work. You want to have the wire strung up vertically as much as possible. And the other thing is to keep it away from other objects, especially metal objects or metal siding on the house, that type of thing. So the way I have it there, it's out a little ways from the house and nothing bothers it too much. It does work okay there like that.